Bonjour tout le monde. Aujourd'hui, nous allons parler du chapitre 2, Grammaire 1, On fait la fête. Today, we're going to be looking at indirect object pronouns. So, in English, an indirect object is the person to whom or for whom something is done. The indirect object noun can either go before or after the direct object. However, when it follows the direct object, the preposition to must be used. My parents gave my cousin a gift versus my parents gave a gift to my cousin. You can ask yourself to whom or for whom the action occurs in order to determine what the indirect object is. Verbs such as to send, to show, and to give often have indirect objects. So I sent my uncle a thank you note. So to whom did I send a thank you note? To my uncle. So in this case, I know my uncle is my indirect object. So let's practice. Circle the indirect objects in the following sentences. Number 1's already been done for us. I wrote my best friend many emails while I was away. So who did I write the emails to? To my best friend. So pause the video and try 2 through 6. Okay, welcome back. Number 2, who sent that package to you? So who did we send the package to? To you. I bought my grandmother a bouquet of daisies. So who did I bring the bouquet of daisies to? To my grandmother. So my grandmother is the indirect object. My parents brought my brother and me a new computer. So who did we bring the new computer to? My brother and me. Let's write our congresswoman a letter. So who are we writing a letter to? To our congresswoman. That's our indirect object. And then finally, we gave the dog a big juicy bone. So who did we give the big juicy bone to? To the dog. So the dog is our indirect object. Good. So in French, an indirect object is also the person who benefits from the action of the verb. It is almost always preceded by the preposition a. Indirect objects are often used with verbs of giving and receiving. So donner, offrir, envoyer, and of communicating, parler, téléphoner, and dire. So je vais envoyer une invitation à ton cousin. I'm going to send an invitation to your cousin. So the invitation is being sent to the cousin. So that's our indirect object. J'écris à Agnes. I'm writing to Agnes. So to Agnes is my indirect object. Les élèves parlent au professeur. So the students are speaking to the professor. So they're speaking to who? To the professor. So let's try the same thing in French now. So circle your indirect objects in the following sentences. Again, number 1's been done for us. Tu peux offrir un CD à Sophie. You can offer a CD to Sophie. So we're going to offer a CD to who? To Sophie. So pause the video here and try 2 through 6. Okay, welcome back. Je dois téléphoner à mes parents. So I must call my parents. So who do I need to make a phone call to? To my parents. Notice you see that A in front. Est-ce que vous pouvez donner ce livre à Jean-Luc? Can you give the book to Jean-Luc? So who do we want to give it to? À Jean-Luc, to Jean-Luc. Le prof d'histoire va rendre les devoirs aux élèves. The history teacher is going to give the homework to the students. So they're giving the homework to who? Aux élèves, to the students. Nous pouvons parler à Méline et à Françoise à la fête. We can speak to Mylene and to Françoise at the at la fête, at the party. So who can we speak to at the party? To Mylene and to François. And finally, ma tante offre toujours des chocolats aux enfants. My aunt always offers chocolates to the children. So we always offer chocolates to who? To the children. So again, your indirect object is going to always answer to who or for her, for who. Okay. Now let's talk about indirect object pronouns. So indirect object noun can be replaced by an indirect object pronoun. So in English, those are to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to y'all, to them. So my grandmother told me, that's 4 years ago, I gave your books to them. When both the direct and indirect object pronouns are expressed as pronouns in the same sentence, the indirect object pronoun goes after to or for. So Rachel sent it to her. He's preparing it for you. Okay? So let's underline the indirect object pronouns in each of these sentences. Who gave me this present? So the present was given to who? To me. So pause here and try numbers 2 through 7. He did not know her, but offered it to her anyways. So he offered it to who? To her. Number 3. Why did you give him a small tip? So he gave a small tip to who? To him. Who writes you so many letters? So the letters are written to who? To you. Frank gave it to us last week. So he gave it to who? To us. Number 6, she explained everything to me. So it was explained to who? To me. And number 7, could you leave the lights on for them? So we're leaving the lights on for who? For them. Okay? Now let's see if we can do this in French. So we said an indirect object is the person who benefits from the action of the verb. And the indirect object is almost always preceded by a, which we discussed before, and it's often used with verbs of giving and receiving. So donner, offrir, envoyer, and communicating, parler, téléphoner, dire. So for example, je vais envoyer une invitation à ton cousin. I'm going to send an invitation to your cousin. So, to your cousin is our indirect object. And notice it's preceded by a. Remember, it may not always just be a like this. You could possibly see a la, o, or aux. Those all counts as forms of a. Alright, so indirect object pronouns are used to avoid repetition, and we place the indirect object pronoun before the infinitive if there is one. If there's not, then in front of your conjugated verb. So we're going to use me to replace to me, to replace to you. Those are the same as your direct object pronouns. But to replace to him or to her, we're going to use lui instead. Nous and vous for to us and to you, or y'all. And then to say to them, we're going to replace with leur. So, just a couple examples. Alors, je vous envoie une invitation à ma fête. So in this case, je is my subject, envoie is my conjugated verb. But then I don't have an infinitive, which is why I've placed vous, my indirect object pronoun, before my conjugated verb. Tu pourrais lui offrir un CD. Tu is my subject, pourrais is my conjugated verb, offrir is my infinitive. In this case, since I have an infinitive, my indirect object pronoun lui has to go in front of my infinitive. Alright, now I want you to underline the indirect object pronoun in each sentence. So number 1 has already been done. Nous allons te l'acheter. So we're going to buy it for you. So te is our indirect object pronoun. Remember, you're looking for one of the words from this list. Me, te, lui, nous, vous, or leur. Alright, pause the video and try numbers 2 through 7. Okay, welcome back. So let's look at number 2. Je ne lui prête pas mes choses. So lui is our indirect object pronoun, and it's been placed in front of our conjugated verb because there's no infinitive in this sentence. Number 3. Il vous a dit tu, n'est-ce pas? Vous is our indirect object pronoun, and it's been placed before a conjugated verb here as well because there's no infinitive. So he said everything to you, right? Son père va la lui prêter. So in this case, lui is our direct object pronoun, and in this sentence it's been placed before an infinitive because we do have an infinitive. Your father is going to let you borrow it, right? Est-ce que vous allez nous le vendre? So in this case, nous is our indirect object pronoun. So are y'all going to sell it to us? Nous is our indirect object pronoun. Gilles ne veut pas me le montrer. Me is our indirect object pronoun. So Gilles does not want to show it to us. So notice you can use both direct and indirect object pronouns in the same sentence. And then finally, tu vas la leur envoyer. Leur is our indirect object pronoun. So in this case, it's been placed before our infinitive because we do have one. So are you going to send it to us? All right. So let's do a little bit of practice. So pause the video and try to replace the direct object pronoun in this sentence. Je chante bon anniversaire aux enfants. All right, let's discuss. Je is our subject, chante is the conjugated verb, and aux enfants is our indirect object pronoun. It answers to who? Well, it's our indirect object. So, aux enfants means to the kids, so we want to replace this with to them, so we need to replace it with leur. Since there is no infinitive in the sentence, we need to place it before the first conjugated verb, which is chante. So our final answer, je leur chante bon anniversaire. Okay, let's try another one. Vous parlez à moi. Okay, let's explain. Vous is our subject, parler is our conjugated verb, and à moi is our indirect object, to me. So to replace to me, we replace with me or m apostrophe. Since there's no infinitive in this sentence, we need to place it before our first conjugated verb, which would be parler. So our final answer is vous me parlez. Okay, let's try again. Nous écrivons des lettres à Alia et à Tia. So pause and try this one. Okay. Nous is our subject, écrivons is our conjugated verb, and à Alia and à Tia, to Alia and to Tia, is our indirect object. So to Alia and to Tia would basically be to them. So in order to replace to them, we have to use leur. Since there is no infinitive in this sentence, we need to place it before our first conjugated verb, which we said was écrivons. So nous leur écrivons des lettres. All right, let's try one last one. Je vais écouter au prof. Je is our subject, vais is our conjugated verb, écouter is an infinitive, and au prof is our indirect object. Au prof means to the teacher, which we want to replace with to him or her, so we must use lui. Since there is an infinitive, we need to place it before the infinitive. So our final answer is je vais lui écouter. All right, that's all we need for tonight. So pause, rewind, review, and jot down any questions, and we'll talk later.